Hey guys, Stay Patient here and welcome to this week's edition of the Trophy Hunters update. The date is the 20th of November. This year's flying by. We're going to be in 2017 before we know it. But yeah, we're going to do what we do every week and take a look at the trophies that have been added to PSN and, see what we can tell about any potential easy platinums or any of the AAA games that are on their way. Now, you may notice my camera is sort of angled down a bit, so I'm slouched to make sure I'm in the shot. That's because, obviously, the time is like 3:15 here at the moment, so the evenings are getting darker and darker. The sun's going down earlier and earlier as we get closer to, the depth of winter. So I've got the light on above me, and it was just kind of reflecting off the mirror in the background. That's why I'm kind of huddled down a bit. But I'm going to be sort of rearranging my room a bit, so that won't be an issue anymore when I get a chance. But here we are on PSN profiles, and it's nice to see this this series is kind of picking up some steam. Last week I mentioned that I was hoping to try and reach 500 views a week by the end of the year, and now both of the last two episodes have gone over 900 views, which is pretty cool. A couple of weeks ago that one's at like 1,000 odd. So yeah, it's really nice to see you guys supporting it, and I hope the same thing happens with the review series I'm doing, where I review one of my subscribers' trophy collections, because that would be really nice to keep going, and obviously to be able to do that, it needs to have some support. So I appreciate any support you guys can give that series as well. But we're here obviously on our most recent releases list now. Most of these games obviously were ones we spoke about last week or the week before. There's a couple I wanted to mention from a couple of weeks ago though. One of them is Icy. Now, I think we watched a trailer for this. I believe we had a trailer, and I'm pretty sure we did. But as you can see here, it's sort of struggling to keep up with how many people have the game and how many people have earned the platinum. Because as you can see here, it only says 29 people have the game at all, have played the game, and 34 have earned the platinum. So it's obviously, up to date with how many people have platted it, but not quite up to date with how many people played it. But that kind of just implies that people are earning this platinum real nice and quick. It's going to be a tough one for you guys to be able to get hold of though. This is only currently out in China, I believe. It may well receive a release over in the West, but it's definitely out on the Hong Kong store. So if you're like me and you've got sort of an account from lots of different regions, I think I've got a UK account, an American account, a Hong Kong account, which is like China and around there. They also call it Asia, I think, or is that separate? Crumbs, I forget, but it was my Asian account basically that I went on to buy it, and I've got a Japanese account and I think one or two others as well. But yeah, unless you've got a Chinese account, I don't even think you can import this on disc, even if you went to like playasia.com or something. I think it's a download only game because it's a Chinese indie title that we spoke about. I remember we said it was a bit sort of it was quite unique hearing that term, a Chinese indie title, because we get loads of indies. But we don't really get many like actual AAA Chinese games over here, let alone indie games. But obviously that's back when I thought this was getting a Western release. But one of our commenters was mentioning, I forget exactly what he was saying, but when we spoke about China and their kind of gaming culture, he mentioned that they do have a big gaming culture, but not much of their stuff gets ported over or translated across to Western languages and things like that. And I think that could well be because China's such a huge place. Obviously, we get a lot of the Japanese games over here, games like Ni no Kuni and Persona, and like loads of the obviously Sony and Nintendo are Japanese companies, so that would explain part of it in the sense that they're Japanese companies, but they want to obviously bring their games across to the West. Whereas none of the big gaming companies are Chinese. There aren't any sort of consoles that come from China, and they probably don't need to export it because Japan's a much smaller country. We get a lot of their stuff over here so that they can make more money, and I guess China's so big that they've got like their self-contained marketplace, I guess. You know, all the games sell to people in China, and that's plenty. They get plenty of money from that. Anyway, that's just kind of a bit of a tangent that I just found interesting. I forget exactly what we were discussing on the on the video comment section, but he had some interesting points. James, I think his name was, probably watching today. Hey man. Anyway, this is like I say, it's only available on the Chinese or like Hong Kong / Asia PSN store. I went on and bought it today. If you do set up an account over there using an address from that area, then you can go to PC Game Supply. Here it is, look. Yeah, pcgamesupply.com. I think we've mentioned this site before, but on here you can go to PlayStation Network, and then you've got all the different regions. So it would be Hong Kong, and you can buy the game itself costs $78, 78 Hong Kong dollars. So I went ahead and I bought an $80 card, which worked out perfect. Although I did forget I already had some money left over from whatever I bought before. I think it was Sound Shapes. But that's £10.12. Now that's not too bad a deal, because if you actually convert it directly, it's like £8.35. So you are paying a little bit extra. I'm not sure what that works out as, you know, if you're buying this from America, but you get the code straight away. It's only like £1.50 extra, whatever. Yeah, so, you know, it's an option. It does look like a very easy plat, and it looks a lot of fun as well. It looks kind of like Dust and Elysian Tale, that kind of combat. But anyway, we're not going to ramble on about this for too long. But as you can see there, 44% completion on the Platinum itself. So it's obviously a nice, easy and fairly quick plat. We forgot to look at the completion times, but they're around like 2 or 3 hours, most of them. So it's definitely one that you can get done nice and easily if you want to go through the effort of picking it up. The other one, ironically, both the games from previous weeks that I want to look at, both involve ice, I guess. Freeze Me. Now this was one, if you remember, we watched a trailer for this, and it was the one that was kind of designed to evoke a nostalgic feeling for anyone who grew up with the N64. And I didn't grow up with one, my cousins had one, so I played it a bit. And it does have that kind of feel, like it's almost like a Mario 64 style game. But although I said it looked kind of cool from a nostalgic standpoint, I have actually seen some reviews for it, and it's getting slated like really badly. The one I saw that I kind of scanned through, I didn't read fully, it gave it a D-. I forget the site. Obviously they've got like a grading system, a bit like you know, grades at school or whatever. But D-, they said, you know, they talked through some specific things wrong with it, but then they just went on to say basically everything about this game is wrong, everything is bad, and I was kind of disappointed to hear that. But if you don't care how good a game is and you just want an easy platinum, this does look like it is going to be one. We mentioned before, we're not going to look through everything, but we mentioned that it doesn't even look like you necessarily need to finish the game. All the trophies are like, do something once or do something like maybe 10 times, and it seems like it's going to be very straightforward. The completion time on it, there's only a few people who've platted it. I think probably because because it's so bad, probably. You know, if it's getting the kind of reviews it's getting, then it's obviously a terrible game, and people are maybe picking it up, trying it for a bit and thinking, oh crumbs, I can't stick with this, and then leaving it for a couple of days or till the next day and finishing it off then. But even if that's the case, you know, these are fairly quick times. We've got German Pro Gaming. He's a very high level PS4 guy. Hutchie, I think he's on my friends list. I boosted Battlefield 4 with him, or 3 was it? Yeah, sorry, Battlefield 3. Back in the day, good old days. So yeah, I might message them. I have messaged 1 or 2 people today about some of the games we're going to be looking at. But yeah, another easy one, 22% platinum completion. And again, like I say, it's probably that people just hated it and they stopped playing it rather than found it too difficult. So they were the 2 from a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, you've got lots of people playing Assassin's Creed 2. Yes, the other 2 games from last week that I was going to bring back up was Deponia and Silence. We spoke about these being point-and-click adventure games. Deponia especially looks really cool. I love the kind of humour and the art style. Silence looks nice as well. Deponia, there's actually, I believe someone has put, you know, a video, not exactly a video guide, but a video playthrough. So if we go Deponia game forums, there's not a lot of sort of activity on this. Literally no voting thread for difficulty or anything. But Play Zocker, shout out to him. I may end up doing a video for this myself, but I'm kind of gearing the channel more towards like informative videos in general, like this weekly series and then the top 10 videos and stuff, rather than focusing too much on specific trophy guides for games. You know, I'm more about kind of making you aware of other guides that other people put time and effort into. I've got the easy job. But he's got playlists here. Obviously, I think he's quite new to the site. Well, no, he's obviously could, if you're watching this Play Zocker on the off chance that you happen to be one of my subs, you can delete the S from the link here and it will show the video up. Oh, he's a reviewer. Okay, I could get lost in reading all this, but yeah, he's obviously got the game early. And that's quite cool anyway. You've got a playthrough you can follow. Hopefully someone will make like a step-by-step written instructional guide. But the trophies don't look too bad for it, even if you went in blind. I think the majority of the majority of them are ones that will come naturally and other ones you have to do specific things for. But it doesn't look to have any trophies that involve like an entire playthrough. So I don't think there's anything to do with like playing through without using any tips or like in a certain number of moves or whatever. I think it was Goosebumps that you had to complete within a certain number of steps. So you definitely had to follow a guide for that. But this looks like something you could probably enter, and I think the trophies are in the order in which you can earn them, at least I think that was mentioned here. Yeah, trophies appear in the PSN list in the order you will get them when following the videos. So he's created his guide so that you earn the trophies in this order, which means that you could technically have a look at the first trophy in the list and, you know, just try and figure out from the description, if you don't want to follow a guide, just like learn the first step. So that's obviously going to just be like a tutorial level. So you think, right, okay, I'm going to earn that naturally. Then once you earn that, you can take a look at the next one and just do them step by step. So if there's one that's not entirely clear what it means, you can kind of just scout around the area, look for something related to it. So something related to a toothbrush or toothpaste or whatever. Maybe there's a dentist and you think, right, I'll go and speak to him. It's bound to be something related to that. So if that's the case, if you can earn all these in the order in which they show up, then that's really cool. And as you can see, it's got over a third of people that have played it have platted it. We've got a few people here I recognise off my friends list. Ever-growing friends list is going to max out at some point soon. I'm going to have to start either turning people down or trying to find people who've got duplicate accounts or whatever and delete anyone that's not actually using their account anymore. But yeah, 4, 6 hours, 7, some of these are a day or more, but obviously you have to bear in mind that this is before there's any guide up. So if Mila, who's one of the regulars on PlayStation Trophies, if he has done it in 4.5 hours, then that's probably going in blind unless he followed a guide from the Steam version. But I'm betting that once there is a guide, this might be like a 3 or 4 hour plat. But yeah, I recommend giving it a go because it does look cool. You can kind of tell from the picture at the top here, the sort of general visual style, which does remind me of Monkey Island a little bit, like a more up-to-date modern day Monkey Island. So the other one was Silence. Now, we're not going to look through this again because we will just have a look at the percentage actually. No one's platted it yet, but only 32 people playing it. So this might be tougher to do without a guide. In fact, we will take a quick look because, yeah, see this trophy set has got, even though it's the same developer as Deponia, this is a much tougher one Not tougher, you know, once there is a guide, but for now, before there's any guides up, it's going to be harder to get going in blind because you've got these trophies that do require a full playthrough. They do require you to get everything right from start to finish rather than just kind of earn one trophy and then move on. It's a case of having to keep these in mind all the way. And they seem to be kind of collectible related, or sort of like hidden. You have to spot hidden characters and you don't know how many times they're there. I wouldn't think there's a counter in the game. So you need to you need to spot plunges everywhere. So he's obviously located in multiple spots throughout the game. Same with licked, which seems to be a lollipop. And kick everything possible. That sounds crazy. So I'm guessing every item in the game, maybe every person, maybe every bit of scenery, I don't know. But kicking everything possible, you can kind of see why no one's earned these yet, especially without any guides up. So yeah, out of the two, I think if you're looking for an easy platinum, although they're both, you know, they're both similar games, they're both point and click adventures, they're both from the same developer, and they probably will both be easy once guides are up. If you're looking for one to play right now and you want to go in blind, we got some sirens going off. I don't know what that is. Anyway, apologies for that. Selfish some people, aren't they? Getting robbed or stabbed while I'm trying to do a video. Anyway, like I say, if you're looking for one to do now, then I recommend Deponia. But yeah, let's move on to this week's games because we're kind of getting tied up a bit, aren't we, with games from the previous couple of weeks. Unfortunately, Nublar isn't out yet, but it's got to be this week. I mean, I don't see a indie game like Nublar having its trophies added weeks before it's released. Not like Mafia 3, which I think Mafia 3 trophies were up about 5 weeks before the game was released. But yeah, I'm sure like it's bound to be this week, maybe Tuesday or Friday. I recommend keeping your eye on the store for that. The Steep beta is currently on the go, so that's an open beta if you want to try that out. I'm definitely interested in giving it a try. I'm not sure if I'll get a chance or time, but fingers crossed I might do. And we are now up to the new games, and there's quite a few this week. Last week we got up to Time Machine VR. We didn't actually speak about it, and there are two versions, so I'm guessing one is like Europe and one's America, or maybe one's from over in the east somewhere like Japan or something, but I would assume that this is Europe and America. It's like a dinosaur game. You kind of get sent back in time to do some research, and then I think something goes wrong. I didn't even watch the whole trailer in its entirety to listen to what was going on because, I don't know, I was in a bit of a rush and I kind of got a bit fidgety and bored of it, to be honest. It looks a bit ropey. It does look kind of cool, but you know when you watch those sort of low-budget TV shows about dinosaurs and the CGI is just like really jerky and stuff, and that's kind of the impression I got of this. But it's probably cool, and the trophies don't look too bad. Earlier on when I looked, there was only one person that had played this version, and they had, I think, platted it. I believe I messaged them. I think did I? Oh, I can't remember now. I messaged someone about something. Can't remember who it was. But anyway, the one person who played it had earned the platinum. Now 2 more people have started playing it, so it's dropped the percentage down, but it's very difficult to really get an impression of how difficult it is based on these percentages. Obviously, the other version has had more people playing it. Where are we? There we go. Oh, crumbs. Yeah, so still 9% have platted it. The trophies do look easy though. You've got like completing the levels, completing story mode, return to any level, and then you've got all these like specific things for helping certain dinosaurs. And without knowing how the game's structured, I don't know if it's like an open world where you need to find them and then do something, or whether there's maybe like specific levels or sections you choose to be able to help each of these dinosaurs, or investigate them, or discover them, or whatever. You've got to discover all these monoliths, and then Dino Dex entries, and it's very much like an exploration game from what I can see. I'm not sure if you're an actual person that travels around or whether you're like a free roaming camera or what. But yeah, it looks okay. I'd be interested to see any reviews for it, but it doesn't. When you've got dinosaurs in VR, you kind of want them to look awesome and just feel like you're really there with them. So when the animation and the kind of graphics are a bit off, then it kind of takes away from the experience. And that reminds me, actually, there was that game Robinson, The Journey, I think it's called. And that's a similar kind of game, but it looks amazing. The graphics are incredible, and it's sort of story driven. You crash on a planet and there's dinosaurs and everything, and that looks really cool. The graphics on those dinosaurs looks awesome. But unfortunately, I watched the IGN review for it, and I was really hoping it would be good, and it ended up getting like 5.5 out of 10. They actually started off with a lot of great things to say about it, but then, as it went on, they were like, and there were some big buts. I forget exactly what they were. I think the controls, like the actual control scheme, was a bit off. I think they might have talked about motion sickness, and the story not really being compelling. And you've got this like robot companion that they said could have been used better. They could have been funny or whatever, a bit like the guy, is it Wheatley or the guy in Portal 2 anyway, that's voiced by Stephen Merchant. Now he's really funny and he makes the game even more enjoyable, but this guy, they said, like, he's kind of like Wheatley but just not funny and not interesting. Which is a real shame, because I was hoping to hear that was like the first really awesome big AAA title that lived up to everyone's VR expectations. So anyway, if we crack on here, so that's Time Machine. Between the two, we have ATV Renegades. Now, I don't think this is a VR game. No one's played it yet. And the trophies in it make it seem like it's probably going to be quite simple. The first bunch here are just for finishing first in each of the tours, which I guess is just winning all the races in the campaign. And then you have to come first in all the variations of each race or of each sort of location. So you've got quick race, 6 races, 3 laps, extreme computer skill. That could be the deciding factor, like how difficult that extreme skill level is. That could kind of determine whether the trophy set is difficult or not. But what's quite interesting is you've got that for all these different locations, but then you've also got the same trophies, but for 2-player. So here you've got like Mexico champion, England champion, then you've got Mexico 2-player champions. So you need to do the extreme skill, so I'm guessing you need a second player, whether it's online or split screen or both, I'm not sure. But you've got to complete all these different types of races and win, or come first and second with a friend. So you need someone else who's skilled enough at the game to be able to beat the extreme AI. And then the rest of the trophies are beating time, lap times in, I guess, time trial. So really, you've only got 4 groups of trophies here. And if you just win, if you come first in everything in the game, as well as first and second in 2-player, then you'll get the trophies, basically. Obviously the lap times as well, but again, that's sort of included amongst the coming first, isn't it? Beating the top lap times. So beat the lap times, win everything 2-player, win everything 1-player, and win all the tours. So that's one to keep an eye on, I'd say. Quite often those sort of off-road, like ATV or even like jet ski games, like the very specific specialist vehicle-based games, a bit like MXGP, stuff like that, they're usually quite simple. But that might just be a coincidental pattern that's, been forming. So from here, what have we got? We've got some games that are probably sort of imports and things. The Arcade Archives games, we don't usually, talk about the non-platinum titles unless they're really fun games that I want to kind of recommend you play. But the Arcade Archives games, originally they were only available in Japan. You had to have a Japanese account to be able to buy them. And then they ported some across to the American, I think maybe the English or European PSN stores as well, I'm not sure. But you can get them in the West now. I bought loads of them when they were only in Japan. And they're quite expensive for what they are, for what you get. But although they don't have a plat and they've got a very small kind of collection of trophies, only 285 points, they are for the most part super easy and super quick. And you can buy, there's dozens and dozens of them. You can just buy them all, and some of them are like 10 minutes long, and you can just blitz through a bunch of them in a day and earn the equivalent of several platinums as long as you do. I suppose you'd have to do, about 15 to get, what's that, like 3 or 4 platinums or whatever. Yeah, anyway, that's just me getting caught up with math in my head. But yeah, Terra Force, I'm not sure if that's a brand new one or whether it's just like a new version of one that already exists. I think it's a new one because I don't think they have stacking trophy lists. Anyway, Arcade Archives, if you see them on the store and they're really cheap, if they're marked down in price, they're worth picking up. Maybe check on PlayStationTrophies.org first, because there's probably like 2 or 3 that are actually quite difficult. Hollowball, what have we got here? Yeah, we're going to check out a trailer for Acre Motor Racing Utopia just quickly. Now, I'm not actually sure what it is that kind of motivated me to want to show you this trailer, but as you can see, it's a jet ski racing game, and it seems as though they've kind of jumped on the bandwagon of the Riptide GP games, which were, they were actually quite fun. The second one's harder than the first one. The first one is an easy plat. We haven't actually spoken about it in any of our top 10s yet, but it is going to show up at some point. This one does look like there's a bit more to it, which is kind of cool. You've got these tokens to collect, you've got different types of races, I suppose, probably trick events and stuff. But it looks okay. It looks a little bit rigid. Riptide GP was nice and smooth and kind of flowing, and the graphics were really good for an indie game. I think it's an indie game. But this looks fine. And like I say, I'm not really sure why we're watching the trailer, but I wanted to share a couple of trailers with you today. And although there are some, bigger games around, bigger games due out soon, I often like sort of bringing you trailers for games that you might not think to watch the trailers for, because I'm sure you've all kind of seen plenty of gameplay or watched trailers for the big anticipated releases. But sometimes I like to find those sort of those little titles that people don't really know about and share the trailers with you, just so you can get an idea of what they're about, maybe open yourself up to some new gaming experiences. So as you can see, if we have a look at the actual trophy set here, I don't know if I've even looked through this yet. Complete tutorial, win championship event. There's only 17 trophies. Own every watercraft. Now that's probably, if it's anything like Riptide GP, it's just a case of farming money and buying them all. Although you don't have to buy them all on Riptide. No, you have to buy a certain amount, I think. Anyway, win every runabout championship, every ski championship, gold in all the time trials, win the gold medal in all freestyle. What's this? Pass each buoy perfectly in a championship race. Okay, so during the trailer we saw them kind of slaloming, through the buoy, isn't it? That's how you pronounce it. The buoys, like the floating kind of rubber or plastic things that they use to kind of mark the location of lobster pots and things like that, I think. But obviously they use them in races because they float. They just pop them there and you can kind of slalom in between. So I'm guessing that'll be fairly easy. Unless perfectly refers to, cutting it really close. Maybe you don't just have to avoid it and go around it, but maybe you have to perfectly sort of cut the corner or, get in nice and close to the buoy. In a championship race, pass every buoy in first place and win. Okay, jump over 40 meters, perform every stunt, and in a freestyle event, so that they would just come together, wouldn't they? Air stunt. Oh, so maybe during one freestyle event you have to perform every air stunt, and then in another freestyle you perform every water stunt. Yeah, because it's quite cool, isn't it, when you see really skilled jet skiers or what do they call them? Jet ski riders. It's not skiers, they're not holding on to the rope behind, whatever you call it. The jet ski riders. When you see them, they can do tricks on the actual water, can't they? They don't have to be in the air. So they can just push the nose of their jet ski down into the water, and then the rebound sort of flips them back and does a backflip. At least you can do that in games, and I'm pretty sure I've seen it in real life. I may be coming across really stupid now, because some of you might be saying, no, that's like a game thing. No one can do that in real life. But I think I've seen, because a friend of mine used to, I think he still does occasionally, he used to race powerboats, and he was like involved in the whole Formula One scene and everything. And yeah, they can do all sorts of crazy stuff on them. 20 stunts during perform a backflip with a runabout watercraft. Okay, I'm just kind of getting lost in the list of trophies now. Find the ball of straw at each venue. Okay, so collectible one. All right, well, anyway, we're going to come back. None of that really gives away how difficult that's going to be. But it does have a stacking trophy list, and it's definitely one I'm going to check back on, because this is very likely. It's the kind of game you can just tell when you're so used to reviewing games like this and playing games and earning trophies, you just get like a sixth sense for it, where you can kind of tell when a game is likely to have an easy trophy set. I could be wrong, it could end up being very difficult, but probably 95% of the time when I make an assumption, it ends up being pretty close. Amnesia, if you want to scare yourself, it's quite an old game now. I watched some gameplay on the PS4 earlier, and you can tell it's an older game, even though you hear about it a lot because it never came to PlayStation before, as far as I know. When a game is on a platform that you don't play, time passes by and you never really think of it as getting old because you haven't experienced it, or you just don't notice the time passing. Whereas like with games that we play, on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, as time goes on, you see sequels for it, or you see other games come along and get compared to it, and time goes by and you know how much time's gone because you've got it's like an internal clock, I suppose, where you're gauging how long it was since you played it and everything. But like with Amnesia, I never think of that as being an old game because I never played it, and it's on a platform that like I never have any experience with. So when I watched it, and I was like, wow, it looks really old, and I think it probably is. But if you're into your scary stuff, the trophies, I don't know, they don't look too bad. Okay, attacking Zagita here. This is like a 2D side-scrolling combat game platformer. I watched I watched like a few seconds of it. It didn't really speak to me, but it might end up being cool. It looks like it's an import game. Let's see here. People are saying, yeah, it looks like it's going to be really hard. Okay, that's another one. I'll kind of leave you to have a look through that in your own time. It's not something that I've done a lot of research on. Space Overlords I had a look at. This looks really weird. In fact, let's check out a trailer for this. So I've actually downloaded 2 trailers. This is the first kind of reveal one, and this doesn't look good. This isn't why we're watching it. It looks crazy and ridiculous. It looks almost like a PS2 game, and I think the whole aim of the game is to destroy buildings on these planets. Now these planets are sized almost like Ratchet and Clank: A Crack in Time size. Now I don't know if you remember that game, but Crack in Time, that was a really fun game, but you'd fly around in space, you'd land on planets, they'd be very small, you could run around them in a circle, and the planets on here kind of look the same. This second trailer, this shows building planets, and it shows how ridiculous this game looks. I really don't understand. He's just slamming down a bunch of buildings on this planet, right? And to be honest, when I first watched this, I couldn't help laughing because I thought, what on earth? Like, he literally just build all these buildings and then just go down and just smash them up. Like, that seemed like that was the whole aim of the game. And you can see here that the trophy list looks super grindy. I looked through this link or this forum thread here. Someone mentioned that there were 3 trophies that weren't carried across from the Steam version. and these were all on online trophies, and you had to defeat 500 competing overlords in local or online multiplayer. Now, if you play against one at a time, that would take a heck of a long time. But the trophies here, although they seem to have taken out the online trophies, or achievements, the Steam achievements, they still look pretty grindy. You've got to destroy 250,000. Is that? No, wait. Yeah, 250,000 buildings. 1,000 base buildings, 1,000 megacities, calm, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got to, there's like a story mode somewhere, yeah, chapter 1 up to chapter 7 of story mode. But then you have to complete the story mode with all of the overlords. I'm not sure how many there are. And then you have to do these, which look like kind of maybe luck-based sort of loot trophies, unlock the ultimate overlord form with the 4 main characters of the game. So whether that's leveling up or finding stuff, you've got to find all this ultimate armor and everything. So it looks like a long one, this, potentially. I might be out with that. I mean, it may be that smashing up these buildings takes no time at all. 250,000 does sound like a lot, but you see the picture here. I mean, they're dotted about all over the place. You're probably smashing up dozens, maybe hundreds every minute, But yeah, I've looked at like not really reviews as such, but I know on Steam has got like, I think 5 out of 10 or something, and I think someone mentioned on that same thread we looked at a moment ago that the average of all the review scores that have come in so far is around about a 4 out of 10. So it's obviously not a great game, but it does look like one that could potentially be very easy and might be long, but it's hard to really tell until you've played the game. Now this Zoom Arcade, or however you pronounce it, doesn't have a platinum, which I've only just realised, but I did have a look at it because it looks quite interesting. I'm not going to show you a trailer, but check it out, because I think it's got like a branded product in it, and I'm wondering if there's probably like copyright related to it because of that. But basically this game is a VR game, but you use an exercise bike, and I think it's one you have to buy. It's like a peripheral for the game, an accessory. I don't think it works with any exercise bike, obviously, because you need to have it plugged into the game. But it's got all these mini games. It's got it's got Formula 1. I was just laughing as I was watching it. Go and check it out, honestly. Even if you pause here and go and have a look at it now and come back. But there was like this Formula 1 race, but then you realise that the things driving it are just animals that are like looking around and stuff. I think, anyway, it was moving fast, and it looked like that was the case. And then you see the guy that's actually playing the game, and he's on an exercise bike, and he's like, the faster you pedal, the faster you go, and obviously there's some form of steering or whatever. And the idea is it's an exercise program. It's a game with trophies, obviously, but it's designed to work with not only PS4 Pro, but originally Oculus Rift and Vive as well. And obviously, rather than having like an exercise DVD where you're just, copying whatever they're doing on screen, there's like that added incentive. There's that motivation to go as fast as you can on this exercise bike, because it's literally having a direct impact on the game. You're playing the game. You're using the exercise bike to play the game. There's one that I saw which looks really weird, but you're on the back of a unicorn, a flying unicorn, and this guy's like pedaling away, and it's basically making this unicorn fly, and I'm guessing you have to stay in the air as long as you can. So that's a really good idea. It's good for people who love the game, but they feel like they need exercise as well, because we all need exercise. So you just plonk that exercise bike down in front of your TV, or you don't even need the TV, you just wear the VR headset. And I mean, it kind of reminds me of E.T., where he's cycling and he takes off and he's flying through the air. It's almost like that. You'll be sat on an exercise bike, and especially with the unicorn, riding the unicorn, it would feel like you're actually sat on the unicorn, because you're in the same seated position and you're pedaling away and like trying to keep this unicorn in the air. It looks crazy, but it's actually a really good idea. And I wouldn't be surprised if more games started making use of either the exercise bike or maybe creating their own little add-ons. Obviously, we haven't all got room to put an exercise bike in our front room to play video games with, but it's a cool idea for sure. Now from here, we've got Dying Reborn VR, another game without a platinum, but it looks kind of interesting. It looks a lot like, you know what, I was struggling with this earlier. What was it? It was, I'm trying to remember the name of the horror game that came, Outlast, that's the one. For the life of me, earlier on today, I thought I need to look that up before I start recording, because I couldn't for the life of me remember the name of Outlast. But Dying Reborn looks kind of like that. It doesn't have the big, guy chasing you or whatever, but the environments look similar. So if you enjoyed Outlast, if you're into that kind of thing, I struggle with it, man. I'm not great with horror stuff. But this looks similar, but obviously it's got that added layer of tension and just immersion from, the VR, from it being a VR game. Maybe check out the trailer for that. It looks kind of cool. We've got the remastered or War Mastered edition of Darksiders here. If you're into that series. I think they've already released. Have they released a remastered Darksiders 2? I'm not sure. I might just be thinking of the review of the account we did last week. Crumbs, I'm forgetting his name now. Right, it'll come to me. Anyway, Darksiders 2. Yeah, so here you go. You've got 2 versions on PS3 and 1 on PS4, but now they've decided to go back. Maybe Darksiders 2 did better than they expected it to, so they decided to remaster the first game as well. Which looks as though it was more popular, maybe because Darksiders 2 came out quite late in the PS3's lifespan, possibly. But yeah, the first one has had a lot of players. Maybe it was free on PS Plus or something. So where are we up to? Oh yeah, The Little Acre. This is another game I'm not going to show you a trailer for because I never include the sound in my trailers, just to try and avoid any copyright matching. But this trailer is like all about the sound. I mean, not all about it, but it's one of those games that you need to hear the dialogue and the sound effects and everything to be able to get a feel for the game. The animation and everything on it is so cool. It's basically, I think, a point-and-click adventure. It looks very much like it, and from people's comments on the forum on here, does sound like it. It sounds like there's several on Steam. Like there's a Little Acre 2, 3, and 4. And hopefully they're all coming across to PS4. A lot of people seem to really enjoy them on Steam, and you really can't tell from this, but it looks like a Disney movie when you're playing it. The animation is amazing. I think it's hand drawn, or at least it's designed to look hand drawn, and it just looks so adorable. Like everything just looks as though you're watching a cartoon movie, but you're playing it obviously, and it looks genuinely funny as well, a bit like Deponia. And I'm actually quite excited for this, just because it's been a while since I played a point-and-click adventure game that I actually wanted to play, for the experience, rather than just kind of putting it on and following a guide to get the trophies. It looks like this is one I'll probably want to play through once. I might even stream it or record a let's play of it, because it's probably something that a lot of PlayStation gamers haven't heard of. I'd never heard of it, and it'd be nice to bring it to people's attention if it is as good as it looks. So I definitely recommend going and checking out a trailer for that, The Little Acre. No one's played it yet, so we don't have any feedback on trophies. It's another point-and-click adventure though, so it's probably going to be the same as like Deponia and Silence, where as time goes on, guides will crop up, video guides and text guides and everything, and it will probably make it super easy. But to begin with, who knows? Most of these games have lots of missable trophies all the way down through the list. So when you first play it, you could technically probably get through most of these point-and-click games and earn like maybe just 1 or 2 trophies in a full playthrough. But that's pretty much it that I was going to cover this week. We haven't actually had any big AAA titles added to the website or to PSN. But obviously I'm going to keep my eye on ATV Renegades. Keep my eye on Acre Motor Racing Utopia, another stacking list there. The great thing about games like that, even if they're a bit tricky, when they have stacking lists, usually they're cheap to buy, so you can buy it from both stores and get to double platinum. Space Overlords might be long, but looks fairly simple. I do recommend checking out the trailer for this just because it looks so funny. Veer Zoom Arcade. And the same goes for the Little Acre. And of course, if you're looking for confirmed easy platinums, Deponia is probably the standout one this week. Oh, and obviously Nublar when it does finally get its release on the American store. And IC, but China only, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. Now, let's have a quick look at my account just to remind me what I've been playing this week. So this week, as you know, I run a trophy service. That's like my day-to-day job. And I actually had a lot of orders like being processed last weekend. So I thought this was going to be a super busy week. But it's just coincidentally turned out that although I've got a lot of orders, some of the people that I'm doing games for, I'm waiting, or I had to wait for at least a few days for responses on certain details I needed from them, certain questions I needed answered and things like that. So it's gone from being a super busy week to me not actually having been able to do a lot of the work until the last couple of days. I've finally started playing Battlefield 1. I'm doing that for one of my trophy customers. And that's cool. Battlefield's a fun game. Obviously, it's getting great reviews. It's a bit more focused than previous Battlefields. The campaign's better. It's quite cool. It's kind of split into chunks. So there's like 6 war stories, they're called. They're kind of like levels, but each one is made up of like 3 or 4 of its own levels. So these war stories are kind of self-contained tales from the war. I don't think they're true stories or anything, but they're like just narratives where obviously you play it like you would any other Battlefield game, but it's nice being able to go from the start to the end of a story within one play session quite easily. It might take an hour or a couple of hours, and they're quite nice stories. They're not like dragged out. Usually in first-person shooters they end up with quite an impersonal story because they have to drag it out, so they make it like all about world conflict and stuff, whereas this Battlefield 1 is all about sort of much more personal experiences and, you know, relationships between people during war and things like that. So it's a lot better. It's a very nice campaign. I do recommend playing it. Trophy-wise, all of these missions, all of these individual sort of missions within the war stories have their own challenges, and they're all pretty easy to get, to be honest. To get all the trophies for the campaign, there are like, I think 2 or 3 miscellaneous ones that you have to do separately. But for the most part, you complete all the missions on hard, you collect all the collectibles, and you complete all the challenges. And there's only really ever maybe 1 or 2 challenges for each level, besides the one for completing it and the one for collecting all the collectibles. So it's a dead easy trophy set. The online is basically just a case of leveling up. You have to level up all your different classes up to level 2, and that does take a bit of time. And then there's a couple of like miscellaneous ones, but they're not difficult in any way. So if you're looking for an easy AAA plat, you know, a first-person shooter maybe, then Battlefield it's a good game. It's a very good game. It's a lot of fun, and it's an easy trophy set, and it's not too long. It's like 25-30 hours roughly. But the games, like I say, for a while this week, although I had a lot of orders, I was waiting for responses from customers, which gave me the opportunity to jump onto my account and tidy up, or like start tidying up a little bit here and there. Last week I had just done the Duke Nukem 3D trophy set, and as you can see, I've not been particularly busy on my account. Usually, you know, if I'm not working on trophy service jobs, then ends up with a massive list of games, or at least like 1 or 2 longer games that have been completed on my account. But I did do Air is like one of the Japanese imported you know, visual novels for Vita. Monster Jam Crush It is one of the games that we spoke about during part 3, I think it was, or I think it was part 3 of the easiest and fastest platinums, the top 10 list that we did. So as you can see, I actually stopped. I stopped doing that for dinner, stopped for a while, and I still got it done in 2 hours 40 minutes. So you can see how quick and easy that is. I finally got a chance to get back into BioShock Infinite on PS4. I love that game on PS3. I played it so many times for customers and things. And like if you haven't played BioShock, if you haven't played any of the BioShocks, or you've played one of them but not the other two or whatever, then just go out and buy the collection for PS4, because it's just amazing. And it, especially on PS4 Pro, it looks really good, even though it's not like optimized for the Pro. Something about it, like the HDR maybe, I don't know if the game supports HDR, but something about it just really makes the colors in it pop, and it just looks beautiful. Even on the normal PS4, it's going to look amazing. And it's so good. Like the story for all three games, especially Infinite, it's my second favorite game of all time, BioShock Infinite. The environment, like the first sort of section of the game, which goes on for a decent period of time, considering it's like an intro basically, it's all so serene, it's so like relaxing, and it's such a nice environment to explore before everything kicks off and you have to get violent and get your guns out and stuff. But you know, the music in it is like, it's one of those games where if I listen to any song from the game, it brings memories rushing back, and it literally makes like the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It gives me like goosebumps, you know, because it just brings back such emotional feelings from the game, because it's one of those games, it's so emotional, there's just too many like amazing things you can say about BioShock Infinite. And the first two games are awesome as well. I can't wait to get back to try them again, because it's been ages since I played BioShock 1 and 2. It's been a long time, and I don't really have that many vivid memories from them, so it's going to be really cool, almost like playing them again, sort of starting over from scratch. But I got back in, I finished off the first playthrough, and I'm ready to move on to like the hard mode playthrough. Hopefully I'll get a chance to do that at some point. I might actually stream it. Let me know if any of you guys would be interested in me doing a Let's Play or a live stream of BioShock Infinite on 1999 mode, which is like the top end difficulty. But trophy-wise, it's not too bad. We could have a look at it actually. 15% of people have platted it. That's a pretty good percentage considering, loads of people will have played it because it's such a popular series. Obviously, not as many people will have played the PS4 version as the PS3 one. In fact, it'd be interesting to see. How many people played it on PS3. Yeah, 300,000. That's a lot of people considering these are the most popular games on the website, all the Call of Duty and GTA games. And it's like over a third of some of these, which is a really good amount. Obviously on PS4, 6,500. It's like nothing in comparison. But the trophies are exactly the same as they were on PS3. So if you have done the game already, it's nice and easy. Or it will be nice and easy for you if you've already done it. If you know you can do it, then you can go back. There's nothing new. They haven't added any like higher difficulty modes or anything like that. Check my channel actually. I've got a few guides for it up. One of them, which is probably the most helpful one, is the one that explains how you can go about getting infinite pieces of gear. Now in the game you find presents. They're like gifts that are wrapped up in a box, and they'll give you a piece of clothing, and you can equip that clothing for different like effects, different power-ups and bonuses and stuff. And there is a way that you can go through like a farming route that will respawn one of those gifts, and at the same time allow you to farm a lockpick each time you run through the area, because it basically like resets all the loot in the area, or at least some of the loot, some specific pieces. And lockpicks are something that you need a lot of to get into safes and to lock rooms and things like that, and that gets you better loot as well. So check out that video. Infinite, it's called like Infinite Money or something like that. You should be able to find it. But that makes the 1999 mode a lot easier. Obviously you can farm money during that sort of exploit as well, and that allows you to buy upgrades for your weapons and your powers and stuff like that. And the actual, the rest of the trophies are pretty straightforward. A lot of them are combat related, doing certain things with certain powers, getting a certain number of kills with each of your weapons. Most of them are just ones that happen naturally. And then obviously you've got the collectibles, but it's a very doable trophy set. I think on PlayStationTrophies.org, I think it's I think people call it like a 6 out of 10 difficulty, but you know, with some games, they are so much fun that you don't notice the difficulty. So you might have a game that's like a 3 out of 10, and it's just horrible to play. It's boring, it's tedious, it's monotonous, and you just want to get it done. So if you fail any single section, you're really angry because you have to replay it, and it's just dragging out the sort of bad experience. So with games like that, even though they might be a 3 out of 10, you might consider them as being much harder because you want to get it done quickly, and if you don't get it done quickly, then in your mind it's a much harder game. But if there's a game that's like super fun, it's such a blast to play, and the story's amazing, everything about it is just perfect, then it might be a 6 out of 10 in difficulty, but to you it feels like a 3 or 4 because you're enjoying yourself so much, you don't mind if you fail certain bits because you just love playing it. So that's the case with this. It's not an easy trophy set, but the majority of you will love it so much that it's very much doable. It's not a difficult trophy set either. It's right smack bang in the middle, I'd say. It's probably like a 5 out of 10 in my opinion. So, you know, you'll be enjoying it so much you won't even care. You won't notice any difficulty. You'll just be like really absorbing yourself and learning all the powers, learning the combination of powers, how they interact with each other and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just play Bioshock, man. Infinite's just amazing. All of them are amazing. I had the chance to finally try out Drive Club VR now that I know it's a straightforward trophy set, especially for anyone who's used to racing games. I've actually finally started a VR game on my account, a proper full VR game and not just a demo. So I'm going to sort of plug away at that over a period of time when I feel like jumping on the VR headset. Obviously it takes a bit of setting up, getting all the VR set up and getting the racing seat all like screwed in and everything. So it's not like the kind of game you can just jump into if you've got the kind of setup that I use. If you're just using a controller, it's different. But yeah, that's why I just play it every now and again. A funny story actually, I let my mum and dad, who are both, my dad's in his mid 60s, my mum I think is like 60 now. Yeah, I let them both try it, and I was very interested actually because I'd like to do a video talking about motion sickness and how many people experience it, how to counteract it, you know, whether it needs to be a concern of yours if you haven't bought VR yet and you're thinking about whether you'll be able to cope with any motion sickness. And for that reason, I've been letting, like, anyone who comes around, I've been trying to let them use the VR headset just to get an impression of sort of what kind of percentage of people do feel sick, and you know, see if there's like any kind of pattern or correlation that we can work out and hopefully use to help people. And my dad, funnily enough, was already feeling a bit ill. I think he had something, I don't know, what was it? Oh no, it was because he was watching I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So he'd been watching them eating all like whatever they were eating, eyeballs or testicles or whatever, I don't know. And he said he was feeling a bit queasy because of that, just watching them put all that stuff in their mouth. So when he came up, I was expecting him to get ill, but he was absolutely fine. He had absolutely no signs of motion sickness whatsoever. I asked him, he said, you know, he's feeling totally fine. He's not feeling any effects from it whatsoever. Most people feel something. Most people are like, oh no, I'm fine. I can tell a bit of like, there's a bit of queasiness, but I'm fine. But with my dad, it was like nothing. He's absolutely fine with it. And then my mum came up and straight away she felt sick. And she kept going with it. I kept saying to her, you don't have to carry on. I can pause it. You know, you can take the headset off. And she was like, whoa, every corner. She was like, whoa, she's really feeling ill. And she was driving around like, you know, she was in a race with a bunch of other cars. And she was literally doing something like 30 miles an hour, and she was trying to stick to the right side of the road and everything. She was treating it like almost like a driving simulator rather than a racing game. And they all came hurtling past her, and she was so relieved they didn't smash into her because she would have spun out. She'd have probably thrown up everywhere. But it was just funny. I thought I'd share that story with you because I just found it really funny. They're like totally not into any kind of technology. And this is like totally new to them. My dad loved it. My dad was like, wow, it's amazing. He really got on well with it. So that was really cool. And then Uncharted 4, I finally finished that. Not that it's a long game. It is actually a long game in the sense that for a linear sort of adventure game like that, compared to the old Uncharted, it is quite a lengthy game. But the platinum's not too long. You can use sort of exploits and cheats and stuff that make the crushing difficulty really easy. And you can even use cheats that allow you to kind of jump to the final chapter of the game to get the trophies that involve a full playthrough. You can just sort of load a checkpoint in the middle. You have to delete your patch. You have to revert back to the original version of the game that's, the unpatched version to be able to use this. So obviously you just delete your game and then turn your internet off and reinstall the game, but it won't download the patch because you're not connected to the internet. What was I talking about? Yeah, you can do, like, for instance, there's a trophy for getting 75% accuracy throughout the game. You could play the whole game and put on like auto aim and all that kind of stuff and easily get it. Or you can complete the game through once, getting all the collectibles and everything, and then you can use the cheats to jump to the final chapter, get the crushing mode, get the speed run, get the what's it called? The accuracy trophy. So yeah, it's a super easy trophy set. Although crushing is harder technically than the old Uncharted games, if you're playing it legit without any cheats, what they've done is, because the original trilogy, it had these glitches available that allowed you to activate cheats on crushing even if you hadn't completed crushing. Now, you weren't supposed to be able to do that. It was supposed to be that you could only use cheats on a difficulty that you'd already completed. But people found a workaround, and they found a workaround for all three of the Uncharted games, and they still work now. I think the Uncharted 2 one has been patched, but you can revert back to the original version of the game, obviously. And Uncharted 1 and 3, I think they still work. They haven't even been patched. And I think what they've done in this game, obviously because of that, they've realized that people are going to use cheats anyway. So what they've done is they've kind of upped the difficulty of the crushing mode in general, but then they've provided you with cheats. So if you complete the game through once, you're allowed to use the cheats on any difficulty you like. You don't have to have completed it on crushing first. So they're almost sort of giving in to the community and being like, look, you're probably going to find a workaround anyway, so just use them, but we're going to make crushing harder so that it's not like too much of a walk in the park when you do use the cheats. But that definitely makes it a very easy trophy set. And of course you've got some online trophies as well, but I'm kind of glad to get that one out of the way because I didn't enjoy it as much as the old Uncharted games. My opinion of Uncharted 4 is very strange really, because I can totally see why it gets such good reviews. Like, from a technical standpoint, the graphics are incredible, especially on PS4 Pro, guys. Man, that's the other thing I've been doing this week, is playing on PS4 Pro. And Uncharted 4 is like just breathtaking. Obviously it's an amazing looking game anyway, and it's very different to objectively kind of remember how it looked beforehand, but I don't remember ever turning on Uncharted 4 and being like, whoa. But now on PS4 Pro, I am. So there must be some difference somewhere. To be honest, even Bioshock Infinite, although that's not 4K and it's probably not even HDR, I'm not sure, but when I play that, I'm literally like, it takes my breath away, the graphics. It never did before. I love the style of the game, the look of it, the whole art style and everything. But like on PS3 or on PS4, when I first started it on the normal PS4, I wasn't like, whoa, look at it. But as soon as I started on the PS4 Pro, man, it just looks amazing. Everything looks great. A lot of people have given mixed opinions on the Pro, but so far I'm really loving it if you've got the right TV for it. And I'm going to do a video talking about how to set it up properly because there's a lot of confusion about what settings you should use. But yeah, like I say, Uncharted 4 is technically very impressive. Looks amazing, as I mentioned, and a lot of the AI features are pretty cool. Like during the mission where you're driving around the desert, if you jump out of the car to go and get a collectible, and your brother or Sully were talking, they'll kind of stop talking and they'll comment on you leaving the car, and you'll say like, "Oh, I'll be right back" or whatever. And then when you get back, Nate might remind them like that they were might be, well, where were we, or what were you saying, or something like that. And each time it's slightly different. And then whoever was talking will be like, oh yeah, okay. And then they'll carry on saying what they were saying. It's just little touches like that probably aren't that difficult to implement, but it's just thinking of them in the first place, you know? So it's very clever. It's a very clever game. But what I found with it was that it wasn't as exciting as the previous three, because obviously when playing the original trilogy, especially Uncharted 2 and 3, they've both got these big, like, over-the-top set pieces that really stick with you, and they're like your memory of the game is based around those set pieces, such as the train on Uncharted 2, or like the plane scene or the boat scene. Not even really a scene, it's a sequence. It's like sometimes they span several levels, and those sequences really stick with you. Now, it may be that Uncharted 4 is, I guess the whole game is slightly closer to being a set piece than in previous games, so maybe nothing really stands out like it did in Uncharted 2 and 3. But for me, there was no like one moment that will always stick with me, you know? The main set piece was shown during all the gameplay trailers. It's the bit where you're kind of, you're hanging off the side of the bridge via the rope, and then you're being dragged along behind the cars, and you're jumping from car to car and using your grappling hook or rope or whatever to sort of grab other cars and get dragged along. It's quite a cool scene, but we all knew about it before the game released. We'd all seen the gameplay. We'd pretty much seen the whole sequence. So when I was playing Uncharted 4 the first time, I was thinking to myself, wow, if what they've done with Uncharted 2 and 3, I can't even begin to imagine what the big set piece is going to be like in this one. It's going to be so spectacular, But then I played it through and I got to that scene, that we'd all seen being dragged behind the cars, and I did that. I was like, right, I can't wait for the big scene, the big build up to like the big event. And then I kept playing, and then the game ended, and I thought, hang on a sec, where's the big moment, And it just, I guess they were trying to pull themselves away from Uncharted 2 and 3 and make a less light-hearted, bit more serious story and everything. And the story's great. I do enjoy the story. It's nice having the personal, like, real-world, relatable relationships between, like, Nate and Elena, and Sam, obviously his brother, and Sully and everything. So the story's really nice and the storytelling's good, but I just felt like there was something missing, and that's why I've never been like the biggest fan of Uncharted 4, unfortunately, because I absolutely love the original trilogy. But yeah, hopefully Naughty Dog, really pull it out of the bag with their next game and give us something that's really going to stick with us, something memorable. But there we have it, guys. That is our lot for today. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be, doing some more top 10 videos soon. And hopefully what I keep saying over and over again is that I'm going to start the How to Be a Trophy Hunter series. It is going to happen, don't worry. It's just a case of finding that pocket of time between like trophy work and between these regular videos that I put up. Enough time that will allow me to actually get to work on it. So keep your eye out for that. Obviously, check out all the top 10s on the video. I think I'm going to have them linked on screen right now. I have a couple of playlists, and of course the new playlist as well, the new series that we started where we review our subscribers' trophy collections. If you want to be part of that, let me know. There is a bit of a waiting list because I've had about 15 or 20 people already ask me to review their accounts. So we'll slowly get through them, and the more people that ask me, probably the more regular I'll have to make the feature to try and get through everyone's request. But thanks for your support on that, and on this series, of course. Thanks for everything, guys. Without you, this channel would be nothing. So I will catch you all in the week or next weekend, whenever it happens to be. Have a good one, guys, and thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon.